Greetings and salutations to our fine podcast audience. Welcome to 3 Ps in a Pod, episode 297.
We made it.
We are so close, gentlemen.
We are very close to 300, which I think we've said. Are we saying we're not doing anything, or we are?
Well, we should just wait and see what happens.
Don't be presumptuous.
Yeah, we don't want to be presumptuous.
Lord willing.
Lord willing.
Lord willing.
That's what you should
That's
say.
what you should
That's
say.
right.
If the Lord wills it, we'll make it to 300.
And we
Book of
used to
James
say
tells
the creek
And
don't rise.
as-
There are no creeks around here that would keep us from doing whatever we wanted to do.
That's true.
So,
And as we know, everything in the Bible is a literal word for word. When he says you got to say Lord willing, you got to say it. And if you don't,
yeah.
God's coming to get you.
Well-
Or maybe he was speaking about a general concept.
I'd like to just say something for our audience in case y'all don't know. We took a little break here for a minute, and that's because we were welcoming producer Charlie's firstborn son into the world.
Firstborn son, Thomas.
Welcome, Thomas.
Welcome Thomas Davenport to the world.
That's right.
Someday, probably never, he will hear this welcome.
Maybe he'll listen to this one. He'll mark it. I'll say this. I would have thought not, but then I recently found out that my children have listened to this podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, they said, we found out you have a podcast and they've listened to it at the gym. So, heaven, if you're listening to this now, I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's
it's probably because she likes to hear me.
That's a little vain.
That's true. That's a little
It is a little vain.
But that's all right.
You're so vain, you probably think this podcast
Podcast is about you.
The podcast isn't about me, but heaven listening might.
So surprised Nathan knows that song.
Well, I was going to say, heaven, that was a song reference, but you don't need to look up that song because that song is terrible. That song is awful.
No one.
Oh,
can,
no. You know, Mick Jagger singing background is kind of cool.
Well, okay.
There you go.
The song is about him.
It is. And he's singing on it.
I will say, I've said to you guys, I've recently had a lot of people at the church who listen to this podcast come talk to me.
Uh-huh.
That would not shock me that that's going to be the thing people come.
They will
You
come
don't
to-
like that song,
Uh-huh.
so
No, he doesn't.
Anytime. I do not like that song.
So it's interesting, Nathan, you bring up literal things in the Bible because that's
Give me
what
a nice little.
that's
segue.
what today's question's about.
It is.
He was trying to set you up, and then I wanted to.
You interrupted me.
I wanted to introduce Thomas Davenport.
But I went back and grabbed that segue. Thank you for
did.
that,
We
Nathan.
came back around to it.
Here's our question for today, written in by an actual person or entity on the internet.
That is true. It had not occurred to me that-
AI bot that found us.
That's right. Wouldn't that be cool?
I don't know if it would be or not.
This is
bots
from
will-
Claude.
Yeah.
Claude is writing in.
Why do you? Never mind. Okay,
Claude's the name of an app.
I know.
Oh.
Why choose that? Anyway, here's the question. There are many mentions in the Bible of people seeing God, quote, face to face. But in Exodus, God says, no man shall see my face and live. The reality is no one lives. And seeing God doesn't factor in. So do you all think that the face-to-face references just mean close proximity, but not actually seeing God? Or do they actually see God, but then, well, like everyone else, they die? Or I guess it could be both. What are your thoughts? Anybody ever seen God face-to-face? Y'all seen God face-to-face?
I have not seen God face to face,
Okay,
but we
okay.
do know in Scripture there are people who saw it.
Well, it says that.
Well, here's what I'll say. Well, I'll get to that in a moment. What I was going to say at the beginning of this was, many is a really good word. It's a good word if you're a writer because
Mhm.
you're not clarifying how many is many.
Well, there ain't many.
Well, I was going to say,
Let's just be
But a
honest.
couple limits you.
I guess
When you say a couple,
a
that
couple
limits.
that sounds bad, but I guess a couple could be many. I mean, is there an actual definition
No,
of
a
many?
couple
Many,
not. Couple-
Depends on
many
who
is
says it.
you can
Only way
quantify
that
it
could
much
be
as
is
it's.
if I had a church meeting and a preacher said to me, we had many folks there, and I found out it was 2.
Yeah. Well,
That'd be what a
you
preacher
use
would
many
say. There
if
are
you
many.
can count the number, correct?
Yeah, it
And
describes a large, usually countable amount.
Right. And
Countable.
much. You say
Countable.
much when you can't count it.
Can't you count any number?
No, but that's be much. So, like, I would say, I'm trying to think when I use much. I would say, I don't know, something. There's much love between us. I can't count the amount.
I would
of love,
never
but there's
say-
much love.
I would never say about a group of people, there were much people.
Right, because I can count them.
Because I can count.
Because I can count them. Much is uncountable thing. So I would
So
say,
much water.
yeah, there's so much, and there's so much love
much
between us.
people.
If I said there's so many loves,
I'm going to bet the person who wrote this question did not expect that to be the topic of
No,
the
but
discussion.
the reason I brought it up was
They
to
don't
say,
get to control what we
No,
say.
they don't. No,
here's
they
the truth.
question.
We're not controlling what we say half
No,
the time.
it's just coming.
So what I was going to bring up was
So there are
not
too many.
not yeah, I don't know how you count it.
Yeah.
I would say honestly closer to a couple.
Yeah.
Few.
Or a few.
A few.
We asked producer Charlie to Google it. He Googled some just to give us a few,
Mhm.
but there's not many. And the ones that are mentioned, there's other things going on that we should probably talk about.
Well,
Yeah.
can't we just establish, first of all, that even when it does say someone saw God face to face, God don't have no face.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the
God's
first.
not a
Jesus
person.
is clear. God's a spirit.
Mhm.
God's a spirit. So
So that's what they call an anthropomorphizing.
Yes.
It's
that's what we paid the big money for.
Yeah, when you go to Bible college, you learn
I probably didn't even say it right, but it's
Using human
describing God.
elements.
Yeah, describing God in a way you would describe a person.
None of us had college loans, but today we would have had to pay a college loan to get that word.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
It ain't worth it.
No,
tell you
it's
that.
not.
Yes.
So
So when we talk about, even when
Yeah.
the Bible talks about seeing God face to face,
yes,
you know, I led a group for a while. We were doing Bible study, especially through the first 5 books of the Old Testament. So Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy,
The Pentateuch.
the Pentateuch. That's another word.
That's another one right
That's
there.
another word you get.
I pulled it out.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that was good.
I remembered that from the time we were in study.
And there is a place, and this is one of the ones producer Charlie found for us in Exodus.
Yep.
Do you have what that reference is, just so we sound good?
It's Exodus
it's Moses.
33:11.
So Exodus 33:11, where it talks about God speaking face to face with Moses like friends speak.
That's right.
But then there's another place where Moses goes up onto the mountain and God tells him, I can't let you see
Can't
my
let-
face. And he quotes at that point the thing that this person quoted, no man can see my face and still live.
That's right.
He says, so I'm going to let my back pass in front of you.
Which what does that mean?
And then at one point he says, I'm going to use my
Also-
hand to
also
cover.
does-
I will shelter you.
I'm
with
gonna
my hand.
shelter
Also
you-
doesn't have a back or a hand.
or a hand.
Right. And so the group I led, which was
I love
mostly
this.
young people, had a really good time of us talking about what would God's back look like if God had a back? Because
Does God got back?
there you go. Does God get back? The question that ultimately you're getting to, and this is what Jason said, is this is God's way of accommodating to humans in that even using language, and all of us know this, language it feels like a very precise way to communicate, but we just had a meeting as a staff, and in that we're constantly clarifying what the other person says, and everyone just kind of accepts you may not even get to the actual encapsulation of the thing I mean,
Yeah.
but you can get close enough that we can work together because you get to that. God, by using human language, is constantly coming to us with images, metaphors, and even just using our words to try and encapsulate his will and his desire to us. So
Yeah. Everything God has done to reveal himself to us is condescending to us.
Correct.
That's right. Yeah, it's limiting himself in a way, is what you mean. by
Every
Yes.
single
he has
time.
to take a step down to communicate to us. And so even like the Hebrew and the one where we quoted of Moses, God spoke to him face to face, like to a friend. It's one of the benefits that Hebrew has over our language. When I say something repetitive in the thing, we used to have a staff member that would regularly say, that's redundant. Stop being
Yes.
redundant. You're just redundant.
the Bible is incredibly
Yeah.
redundant.
Redundant.
Because so much of it is written in that he is explaining face to face by saying as to a friend.
Mhm.
So the as to the friend is the key component there. God was willing to speak to Moses like a friend speaks to a friend.
Yes.
Face to face is just the anthropomorphism of that.
Whatever.
Yeah, I got that screwed up.
Whatever.
But I know, you know what I meant.
That's right.
And
And the same thing happens in Genesis, if producer Charlie can find that for me.
from
But
Jacob,
when Jacob wrestles the angel,
Mhm.
32:30.
Genesis 32:30, and when he's done, he says,
I've
that
seen the thing.
I've seen the face of God, but I was permitted to live. God
Mhm.
allowed me to live because I wrestled with him.
Yeah.
And which, once again, the
How
idea,
do you wrestle with God?
right?
Yes.
And the idea that he's trying to get to there is not, if you got me a police profile or sketch artist, I could describe what God's physical features look like, because God doesn't have physical features. Now, in the sense of him wrestling with an angel, God also can condescend in these ways
Right.
to interact with us in those things. But the point that he's getting to, and this is where we try to get to really as a church and the way we talk about life with God, is this idea of God interacting with us.
Mhm.
That God's desire is to have this face-to-face, in quotations,
Mhm.
relationship with us, that we can go before God and we can interact with him like Moses did, like Jacob, because the idea that, and the idea of wrestling with the angel that people have taken and really pulled out, that's where the name Israel comes from, is the one who wrestles with God. It's this idea of this interactive relationship with God. We call it cooperation with God. It's more about describing the relationship and I think this person used the word proximity,
Mhm.
which I think is a good word for
Yeah, I
it.
think
Yeah.
so.
It's saying how close
Yes.
the nearness God is.
Mhm.
Because with
Well, it's an experience of him
correct
every time.
Yeah.
And then if we take all of this talk to the New Testament,
Mhm.
even that barrier is removed because
right.
Christians believe,
Yes.
and this is what Jesus said is true, that he is God
Right.
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
we have now seen the face of God. We know what the face of God looks like. It's Jesus.
Yes.
And that is kind of the big talking point of the Apostle John, who writes the Gospel of John and also First John. He brings it up again in First John
That's
as
right.
well, is that no one has ever seen God,
Mhm.
but we
Yes,
have seen him.
We have seen him.
he
And we
goes-
touched him.
and we
Yeah.
touched
held
him, and we've eaten breakfast with him, and
Mhm.
we've done all these things. And he's going at a specific
Yeah.
kind of heresy, but he's taking this Old Testament language
Mhm.
of this idea of no one can see God's face and live, and the kind of, at the time in the first century, really the rabbis are writing a lot. Moses has been elevated to this place of he is the one who was face to face with God. As close as anyone could ever be to God, Moses was the one until Jesus. And that's the idea that Jesus is constantly doing, is he is showing, I'm the new and better Moses. I'm the new and
Well-
greater Moses, because I haven't just seen God, I am God.
And what's important, we talked about this before we recorded, was if you go to the Bible looking for these supposed contradictions in the
Yes.
language that they use, you're going to find them all over the place.
Mhm.
They're constant throughout the Bible. But these are not contradictions in the way we think of contradictions.
No, it's one of our favorite teachers, Tim Mackey.
Mhm.
One of his favorite phrases about the Bible, which is right, and it's not used often enough, is the Bible is meditation literature,
Right.
meaning
Yes.
it's not intended that I read it at a first pass and I get all the meaning.
Mhm.
It means I'm supposed to take it and I'm supposed to think on it. I'm supposed to chew on it.
Mm.
I'm supposed to compare it to what I know about it said in other places and put it together.
Yeah.
And so the idea that I look back in the Old Testament, no one see God die, and I got to figure out how did they live and all of that. And then I know that in the New Testament, Jesus is God,
Yep.
and people saw him face to face. And even when he says, I'm going to go away, and they say, where are you going? And he says, I'm going to prepare a place for you. And one of the disciples says, just show us the Father and it'll be enough. And he says, have you been with me this long and you don't know? I am. The Father and I are one. If you've
Right.
seen me, you've seen him.
Mhm.
They had seen the face of God. That's meditative. You have to put all of that together. And if you want to look through it and try to find how this one verse contradicts what you've been told by Christians, Jesus was God, but people saw Jesus and they didn't die.
Yeah.
You're missing the point of what the Bible is intended to be.
Mhm.
Yeah, and even if you're not trying to, because I know there are people, and I don't know who.
No, I'm
sent
not
this.
meaning this person is
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
pick
yeah.
apart the Bible. I don't mean
No,
that
I
at
know,
all.
I know, and what I'm saying is, I think there are people who do sit on that side that certainly go, "I'm trying to pick it apart, show it's not true." I think there are Christians on the other side who so badly want it to be true. This causes great anxiety for some.
Yeah,
I know, and
that's
I was
right.
there when I was 17, 18. Anytime I would read these things, and because I grew up with the internet, so when I would see someone on a YouTube video or something go, "Here's how the Bible can't be trusted. Here's all the contradictions," it would cause deep anxiety within me.
Yeah.
Or even when someone says something like, well, in the Old Testament, there's all this violence, or
Mhm.
there's, polygamy, or there's slavery, or there's, child murders. And it seems like God's cool with all this and blah, blah, blah. And those things, I'd be like, oh my goodness, how can I How can I justify all this? And getting to a place where I realize that, as you said, it's meditation literature, and that the Bible's point, and some of us were taught this when I was younger. It was probably whether someone taught it. It certainly was the thing I had, that, the Bible's your manual for life, or even the idea of it being like devotional material, in the sense that, like, I'm going to open this up today. I'm going to get a word for today. And when you open it up to the one where it's like, and then they slaughtered every man, woman, and child, you're like, and what does that mean for me today going to the post office?
Yeah,
It's like, what am I supposed to,
And nobody puts that on a magnet that you put on the wall.
Right. And so when I approach the Bible this way, either looking for contradictions or things that seem problematic or whatever the thing is, I'm really misunderstanding what this is. This is the meditation literature. Really, it was the media in the ancient world. The way that many people I know, what's the show now that's so big that has like all the spinoffs? It's on Paramount Plus. Yellowstone. The way Yellowstone, and it has got all these spinoffs and all, and you're supposed to, because I've never watched it, but people will be like, this one is in 1800s, and it's this person's like cousin's grandchild, and we're following them. But then that's going to inform when you go back and watch the first season. I don't know.
What it's going to inform is Taylor Sheridan getting rich.
Yeah. In the way that
he's writing them all.
And all media, I mean, I agree, Star Wars is that way. All the media we live in today, everything's kind of connected, and it's pulling from other sources that you know about. The way that it worked in the ancient world was, we're living these stories out. I'm pulling these things, and sometimes things that seem like, as Jason said, seem like contradictions are actually I'm supposed to put them next to each other. And the way I've heard certain scholars say, you're supposed to throw them at each other and see what kind of shakes out. Jason brought this one. What's the proverb that you brought?
Well, there's two proverbs. One says, answer a fool according to his folly. And then the next one says, don't answer a fool according to his folly. So is that a contradiction?
And they're back to back.
And they're right together. And so what do you do with that? Well, you work it out.
Yeah.
If I see it as a rule book, though.
That's right.
If I think that what the book of Proverbs is doing, and once again, and I don't know that anyone told me this, but there was this sense of, I grew up at the time where you're supposed to read a proverb a day because, there's 31 proverbs. And so
31 chapters.
31 chapters. Yes. Yeah, there's way more proverbs than that. But 31 chapters, you read a chapter a day and whatever day of the month is. And once again, I think that's a great habit if people want to have it. As long as you don't go to it going, and this now becomes the basis. Every one of these things is a rule.
They're not rules.
That I'm supposed to take what I'm supposed to do. And we do this in our own world. We use this example before. We have these little idioms and wise sayings of, is it many hands make light work, or is it too many cooks spoil the broth? Well, the answer is it's both.
Both.
Yeah. There are times, and if I said those to my kids, I go, hey, you know what? We got too many cooks in the kitchen. That's true on certain days. But then there's other days where I go, hey, let's go do this. And if we all pitch in, it'll make it go faster. I, as the adult, as the parent, need to be able to discern which situation where having more people in the room would help it go faster, in which situations when I come in, and having more people is just going to make it messy and make it worse.
It sounds like a lot of, I hate to keep bringing it, but when I'm sitting in a room counseling a couple, and they come in and they bring two perspectives on an event, and I give them this. It's part of what we do. There's actually an intervention where you allow them to both tell the story from their own perspective.
Sure.
And you will sit there and listen to one event described in two completely different ways. And at the end of it, part of the realization is you're supposed to sit and go, both of these are true at the same time.
Right.
And then work out, well, what is that? Was your experience of that, and what made that feel this way to you, and vice versa? And can we figure out a way to bring those two together and sit with that truth? We're going to find truth, absolutely. But it does not mean that somebody's right and somebody's wrong.
Right.
Well, and neither one may even be, if I put a camera in the room.
Yes.
And for and I think modern Western people have a view of what history is.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that it's even what most historians think, because I follow many historians that they're aware our ability to understand what actually happened on a certain day at any given time is a matter of interpretation.
Sure.
Yep.
And so, but some of us have, I read this in a history textbook. This is, if someone had a camera that day, I'd be able to read this textbook, watch the camera footage, they'd line up exactly the same way. That's not the way that even human experience works. There's truth on both sides. And then there still is a truth
Mhm.
that is in the middle of what literally happened.
That's right.
And so when you ask the question of, did Moses see God face to face?
Mhm.
What some Western people are reading that to goes, though they're describing a literal truth.
That's right.
They're describing he has seen how big God's nose was and how
Nose
small
and
his
eyes and
God had
everything.
beady eyes, or God had real big
Yeah.
doe eyes, Well, that's not what they're describing. But is it also true that he saw him face to face?
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
Was the experience of that true? And what the New Testament, as Ed brought up, is getting to is, but in an even truer sense.
Mhm.
Jesus is the ultimate revelation of who God is.
Mhm.
That I can look at the life of Jesus, the ministry of Jesus, the death and resurrection of Jesus, and I get to see a full picture that helps me make sense of the Old Testament stuff that can be very confusing at times,
Mhm.
and even some of the later New Testament writings. All of that then fits into this picture of this is who God is, and this is how I am expected to interact with him.
Mhm.
In the way that Moses was face to face, I now get to be face to face with him because I have a experience that Jesus said is Moses and Abraham wish they could have had.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's right.
And I will say, I don't know if that's why you wrote the answer, why you asked this question specifically. Maybe you were struggling with the contradiction and you wanted to work it out. But again, you will have this experience one day. As a believer, you will see God, with air quotes, face to face.
Well, yeah, and that's and Paul promises us that
Exactly. And it will be everything of God that God chooses to reveal to you.
That's
Yes.
right.
And that'll be enough.
Yeah, and Paul's assumption was when he talks about this, we see these things even now, even
Mhm.
with the Spirit
Mhm.
living within
That's
us.
right.
It's like we're looking through a glass darkly.
Yes.
I know who God is.
Mhm.
I have an experience of God. I can interact with him. But there will even be a way that when we get to heaven,
Mhm.
I think there will be things in Scripture God goes, when just by experiencing God, I go, oh, that's what that meant.
That's right.
I now can understand it. Before, it is like if I look through something through a glass darkly and I go, I can get the basic shape. I know enough
Mhm.
to be able, as I said earlier about the accommodation of language,
Mhm.
I can work with you. We can
Yeah.
work together. We know enough about what the other person means. I never can get fully what is in another person's head.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I can know enough that I can trust you. I can know enough that we can work together, that we can love one another.
Mhm.
And I just accept one day I will be known
Mm.
and I will know
Yeah.
fully.
That's right.
And that's what we're looking forward to.
Well, there you go. I think that clears it up.
Oh yeah, we solved all those.
We
problems.
solved that one. So
We didn't
We do
create-
appreciate people sending in questions.
Oh, yeah,
This is
that's
great.
It's much better than us having to go on Reddit.
This is
It was a good question.
an excellent question, and I love the conversation. So next week we got another one. Look here, the bottom of
we
my
got
page.
a couple questions.
I got
People send
another
them
one.
in.
So we're going to talk about the question: does God use evil to do good?
Okay.
That's a big idea.
We'll get
Yeah.
we'll get to that for
So
sure.
we'll talk about that next week on episode 298. We're inching closer. See you next time.